Hello everyone, Brand back here again with another commentary video. Man, a lot has happened in the last... Oh, what the... Sheesh. Oh, that's smart. What was that for? Oh yeah, that was me. Sorry about that. Sorry, you literally punched me in the face. How's that happen by accident? Well, I am very sorry. Okay, well, I gotta record this video, so like, keep your hands to yourself. All right. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about... What was that for? What's your problem? Oh yeah, you have my deepest apologies for that. Okay. All right. You do realize that you actually have to mean the apology when you make it, right? Just apologizing does not make it better. Okay, I'm listening, and I hear you loud and clear. Not only am I sorry, but I'm going to do better. Are you sure you're going to do better? Yes, I'm absolutely sure. I am absolutely committed to doing better. All right. Hello, everyone. All right, get out. But I'm gonna do better. It's just gonna take a while. Hello everyone and welcome to the actual commentary video now. Promise no more swinging hands are going to come into frame from my behavior clone. We're officially going to get into talking about the fact that behavior's had a lot of severe issues lately, but more importantly that they're actually finally doing something fairly serious about it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. First off, I want to apologize for kind of being sluggish about covering this. I promise we'll get more on that near the back of the video, but let's go ahead and talk about what has happened since our last commentary video. That being the whole Behavior the Walking Dead stream disaster. This was a crossover that was supposed to happen between the actor Chandler Riggs, where they were supposed to play with a lot of big DBD streamers, including Ghost Arcade and Ottstarva. And this stream was promptly hijacked by hackers, despite the fact that Otts knew how to kick the hackers out and keep them out. For some reason, Behavior just chose not to listen to him and even outright refused the fixes that he proposed. This led to a very, very embarrassing situation where games were played for well over an hour, and then the stream just shut down without any games played. And then probably the most kind of like dark side of this whole situation is that Behavior very quickly engineered a fix for this within days, where you have to now ask permission to come into lobbies, meaning that hackers can't just hijack your lobbies for free. This essentially makes the DDoSing thing impossible, but the problem being is that content creators and DVD community members have been asking for a fix for this issue for quite some time, and it's honestly kind of haunting to know that DVD creators and community members have been asking for this for years to get this fixed, and it really only took a matter of days if they really put boots to the ground over it. There's really no other way to read this than they just didn't care about it until it affected them directly, which is kind of yikes. Many of you that have been in the community a long time know this is even the first time this has happened. A long time ago, Matthew Cote was playing a game against the old flashlights, which used to be incredibly blinding. And despite the fact that the community clamored for that to be fixed for a long time, no fixes came through until Cote themselves, while playing a match of DBD, ran into the flashlights and said, okay, yeah, this has got to stop. And then it was fixed almost instantly. I think we had been in a spot where we were far past incidents like that happening, but hey, here we are in 2025 and it's happening again. And truly, honestly, in the past probably 5 or so years, this is probably the lowest point the game has been in terms of health, community rapport. It's just, even in a balance standpoint, the game's not doing very well either. It's just rough. But like I said, I want to save that stuff for later because we actually have some good news finally. And that being that Behavior's not only responded, but they're actually doing what people believe to be impossible for a long time. That being that they're actually postponing a chapter release in order to take time to work on game health. That's right, they have pushed back their entire roadmap schedule by about 2-ish months to take a break and actually try to iron out the poor health of the game. This is something that many creators said, and rightfully so, that Behavior would never do something like this because they're too money grubbing and different to the health of the game, that they would never ever take the health of the game seriously enough to actually push back a chapter release. But once again, here we are in 2025 and they're actually doing it. Now, I do want to make this abundantly clear. This doesn't mean that things are actually going to get fixed. I like the way that Hens put it on Twitter, is that this whole Walking Dead release that has a litany of terrible bugs plaguing most of the killer roster, most of the perks that came out have some serious bugs with them. A lot of them have been kill switched as a result and need to be enabled later. Like all of this mess, this tornado of bad game health that has been kind of started since the Arella patch, but really culminated in the Walking Dead health patch happened in the midst of their first Operation Health update. So what we're seeing is that when Behavior tried to do a health update or health initiative, at least in phase 1, that actually led to the game being in the worst possible state that it's been in 5 years. I remember the last time I remember the game being this buggy and messy was during the Binding of Kin chapter release, that being the Twins and Elodie chapter. That is the last time I remember the game being in this poor health, and it's in the midst of them supposedly trying to fix the game. Yeah, if there's any point I'm trying to make with all this, is that Behavior has to be very, 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 very careful, because the game is already in probably the worst state it's been in since that Binding of Kin chapter release. So we can't afford for your now current health initiative to break the game even further. That might actually kill the game outright. I know people say that a lot, like DBD's dying, but like, if you take the game from this spot and you bring it even lower, that might actually kill the game. Because if the casual audience starts going, man, I really can't play this game, that's where you have an issue. And honestly, this is something for me directly to you, Behavior. I honestly wouldn't mind if the release schedule was more like this. I would much rather see content releases around every 4 months if it meant that new content would be more polished, more stable, and overall a better hit. This would also give the team a lot more time to iron out any bugs or issues that arise with these chapter releases, as well as do some much needed R&R on things that have been released before that have had some bugs that haven't been addressed for a while. I know there are characters like Dracula, like Plague, that have had bugs for such a long time that still haven't been addressed. But if you maybe had a little bit more time between each of these releases, you would have more time to revisit old characters and actually tinker out the issues that they have, not the perk tinker, tinker out the issues that they have that are accumulating over time, because you're not so focused on, hey, what's coming out next? We need to fix the bugs with this new character that just came out. We got to make sure this new perk is working because Last Stand is still bugged and we still don't know what's going on with it. Like, if you could just prevent this by giving you a little bit more of a buffer, a little bit more time between your releases. Because right now, the release schedule is just so tight that it doesn't really allow for a lot of that R&R to really happen realistically. So honestly, I would prefer something more akin to a 4-month schedule that gives you a little bit more wiggle room to figure this stuff out, as well as fix old issues that are in the game. Also, minor aside here, I think that Behavior really needs to stop randomly taking aim at random B or C tier killers and taking them out back for no reason. I understand that Behavior is trying to take aim at characters that historically aren't fun to face, like Knight, Clown, Skull Merchant, etc. However, Behavior has either walked back these changes entirely, plan to walk back these changes, like with the recent Clown update, they're already going to revisit and try to fix it again, or with the Skull Merchant, where they keep trying to rework her and then ultimately not settling on something and then pushing the date for that down, kicking the can down the road. It's another socialized term. And that never ends up getting released. They even tried to do this with my character, the Xenomorph, which they also reverted all of those changes except for the tail charge time, I believe, was the only thing that was negative that went through with that. My point being is that there's a lot of manpower and time devoted to reworking a character or making major updates to them. And if we just keep taking aim at characters that are relatively fine but just aren't people's favorites, and we do all these changes and then the community very rightfully goes, actually these are really bad, and then all that work is for nothing because you just are perverting it, we could have spent all that time realistically on something else. And I don't know where this initiative is really coming from, that we got to look at B or C tier killers and try to nuke them to make them fun for the other side, even though they already struggle in many serious ways, when there's the top 5 killers in the game, which are probably way too strong, and then you have the bottom 5 killers in the game that are struggling and can barely compete in the modern meta. Those are the characters that need the most attention, but we keep randomly taking aim at the middle pack here, who realistically aren't that much of a problem, besides it just doesn't feel good. So I would just stop trying to focus on whatever weird initiative that is to just randomly look at weaker killers and try to make them more fun by nerfing them. And then everybody going, no, please don't do that. Please spend that time on something that's more important, like polishing the new chapter releases, going back and making sure old releases function well. Like, we can't keep devoting time to this. It was a fun experiment, except it wasn't. And it just didn't work out, so just let it go. Honestly, to get back on track here, it's good to have a little smidge of hope in all this. I know it doesn't mean things will be fixed or things will go well, but it's at least good to know that they are taking it seriously. And man, I know that I personally needed this from them, and this is where we start getting into the more personal side of the video. So if you only wanted my takes or whatever about it, hopefully have a good rest of your day. But for the rest of you, let's keep going. Because you see, I'm usually pretty timely about covering major DBD news and issues, especially with really controversial things that happen. But when the Chandler rig stream happened and behavior showed that they really honestly could have just fixed the DDoS issue people have been facing for years in a matter of days and only did it when it directly affected them, that was dark. And that made me and a lot of the community feel very small. Very, very small. DBD streamers and DBD community members have been dealing with this for so long. So for it to just have been that easy to fix the whole time and only be fixed when it's an immediate issue for them, I mean, how else do you read that besides that just we aren't a priority? This is a compounding issue with the extremely buggy release of The Walking Dead into many bug perks being kill switched on top of severe meta imbalance that's been growing out of control patch to patch. As well, a majority of the killer roster has been extremely buggy, including my own main, the Xenomorph, which is something that usually, no matter the state of the game, I can usually find some fun in playing the Xenomorph, but they've been extremely bugged lately too. And that is something that no matter the state of the game, I can derive joy from, that it just like I can't do anymore because of all the bugs that are plaguing my character. And all this is really culminating to this big storm that's really put everything in kind of a dark place. Now, if I'm being totally honest, I literally could not muster the strength to make another long video about the stream situation that happened with Chandler Riggs. It's just been bad news after bad news after bad news, and with inaction and hollow apologies, and then more bad news, and then more bad news, and more bad news. And it's so much, and I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I know for me personally, and not to get too personal here, but I've been dealing with a lot of stuff outside of stream that's not been too fun. My parents' health has been really weird and shaky lately. My dad recently specifically had a health scare. Thankfully, he is getting better now, but he had a health scare that was kind of scary. A lot of my friends have been dealing with a lot of real life issues that I've been trying to help them navigate. There's even been some DBD community issues with some bullies trying to push their way into my space that I've had to manage. I've even had situations where people have been trying to come after and hurt me, which I've had to take the high road and kind of turn the other cheek with. But obviously, that still doesn't feel too good that, somebody's trying to hurt you. But it's just been a lot. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that it's not been too kind and too awesome. So to have the game that I go to, through all my content, through all of my a lot of free time too, because I usually play a lot of Survivor off stream with friends just to hang out and to chill. So to have that game just be just kind of this swirl, this whirlwind of negativity, of bad news after bad news after bad news after bad news, it's like, my personal life is bad news, bad news, bad news, and then my gaming life is bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news. And I'm like, I really needed the dub. I really needed the dub somewhere. I needed some diamond in the rough, so to speak. I mean, despite the way content creators like to pump out content, we're all human at the end of the day, and we have a gas tank that will get empty if we don't refuel it after a while. And I think the bad news on both sides really made me hit E, unfortunately. But yeah, like I said, the point being is that I really needed some good news out of behavior regarding all this negative stuff that's been pretty intense and pretty nonstop over the course of the past 3 weeks. I know realistically I'll probably get some flack for saying that, because I know a lot of people, and very rightfully so, are very gung-ho about don't give them any leeway, really, really be hard on them, hold them to a high standard, which, that's fair. But I'm happy to have something to put my hat on. I have some sort of hope now that things can potentially get better in the coming months of work. And on my other side, I wanted to say, as I really appreciate that instead of just putting out another really, really long wall of text in a tweet that says, oh, we will do better, without any sort of concrete action plan, they actually went out and put a video up, Pope and Jose did, talking about their game plan, how they're going to execute it, the things that they're going to do, and really laid it out for us in a very clear and concise way that was very in our face, with the whole, they put themselves up in their little streaming space that they usually use, and was spoke down the camera straight at you, letting you know what they were going to do. And I really, really appreciate that, because there's only so many times you could read those big walls of text of, oh, we're sorry, we're going to do better, before they just start ringing hollow. To see them actually sit us down and be like, okay guys, we're taking this seriously, this is what we're going to do. I really liked that, and I prefer that, and I hope they continue to do that in the future when things like this crop up, because this actually more reads to me like they are taking it seriously. Yeah, I just wanted to get some stuff off of my chest today and let you guys know where I was with all of the recent issues that happened back to back. Considering the behavior has been hitting us a lot with those bad news instances lately. Have you been recently also very exhausted with the amount of bad news we've been getting out of DBD and behavior lately? And do you think that this new health initiative is going to work? Let me know down in the comments below. But on that, that's going to be it for today's video, friends. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully this video made your day just a little bit better today. And if it didn't, I'll try to do so again in the next video. And if I don't see you in the next video, well, you know that thing I always say. I'll see you when I see you, friends. Goodbye.